welcome to our virtual coffee shop. Even today, we are going to follow the trail that is behind this cup. We will start from the egg plantation, starting to know the people that are living and working in, and trying to follow how they are able to donate to this cup these fantastic aromas. Well, in order to do it, we will do one of our interviews, the Meet the Coffee Farmer interviews, and the interview of today is with Diego Robelo. He is the Gerente General, is the general manager of the Aquiares, a finca located in Costa Rica that is probably much more than a finca. It's a kind of community. So it's hosting a lot of people. A community because in the city, in the plantation, there is also a town, a city that is hosting around 2,000 people, and is also hosting a lot of services offered to the people, to the citizens, from pharmacies to supermarkets and so on. But Aquiares is also a research center that right now has a lot of collaborations with several universities and research centers from all over the world. This interview is going to be quite long. It's around 1 hour long. But anyway, you can find up here all the links with some shortcuts to the most interesting parts of the interviews. Before to start, we want to thank all the companies that are helping us, are supporting us in this project, Mocafer and Cafe Lab, and then the espresso machines of La San Marco that are allowing us to extract such a beautiful espresso, our school, Espresso Academy, our blogs, Aprire un Bar and Il Caffè Espresso Italiano, and then we can just hope that you are going to enjoy this interview, and if you enjoy it, please continue to follow our project Meet the Coffee Farmer, because we have still a lot of things to say about the Coffee Award. What time is it right now in Costa Rica?
Thank you, Gabriel. It's nice to meet you. I'm here in Costa Rica, just at my house, and it's 11 in the morning.
Okay, can you tell us something about your plantation in Costa Rica? Where it is located?
Okay, so our farm is called Aquiares Estate. It's a farm that is located towards the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. So the Central Valley is where the capital, San Jose, is. And we just drive 2 hours to the east, towards the Caribbean side, and we find the Turrialba volcano. It's a very important volcano, about 3,000 meters tall. And on the slopes of the volcano is the farm of Aquiares.
Oh, fantastic. It seems to be a dream country, a land of dreams in general, and the area too. Okay, how high is which is the altitude that you use for your coffee plantations?
So it's it ranges between 800 meters, which is the lower part of the farm. Here we have coffees that are very productive, but in the cup, they're not as complex. The taste is more chocolatey and nutty. And then the farm goes all the way up to 1,400, where we have some very special lots of different varietals, some of them African varietals that are really good, like SL28 and Geisha and all of that. But the most production is between 1,000 and 1,200 meters. And this is where we plant, for example, Marsellesa, Obata, and other varieties that are really nice. They have a distinct citric profile, also very sweet and caramelly. So this is the most coffee we produce.
It's very interesting what you say right now, because we have spoken with several farmers in this day, and we understood, since what they say, that the best plantation, the best batches are got in the area throughout the 2,000 meters. Instead, for you, it seems that this quote is lower. Just 1,300, 1,400 is enough.
Yes, I mean, it's a matter of where you are, right? Located versus the equator. If you are closer to the equator, then coffee grows in higher elevations.
Okay.
If you are farther away from the equator, coffee can grow at lower elevations. So Costa Rica is in the northern hemisphere, and we have, I would say, an ideal range for coffee in Costa Rica is between 1,000 and 1,600 or 700 meters.
Okay.
So yes, I mean, overall, I think our farm is located in an area which is ideal. But we do have different issues in the lower elevation due to mostly climate change. and
Okay.
it is giving us a little bit of headache.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, being up to the slopes of the volcano, it seems you have a lot of you have still a lot of space up, so you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
still go up if you want.
Yes, it's interesting. Above us, what we have is a lot of milk production and cheese,
Okay.
and so it's different activities. But it also gets really cold really quickly.
Okay.
So the Caribbean influence that we have is also it has a lot of humidity and a lot of rain. So our area is very rainy. We almost get 3 meters of rain per year.
Wow.
So it's a lot of water.
It's a shower every day.
Yeah, almost. So it can be challenging to go further up when it's getting cold and more humid. For coffee, it can be challenging.
Fantastic. Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, also, still thinking about what you said just in your presentation, you already gave us a lot of very useful information and very interesting information. You have spoken also about a couple of varietals that probably are not very well known by the Italian and European coffee consumers. Of course, everybody knows about Geisha, SL28,
Yes.
and so on, but the Marseillaise and the others are instead probably less famous.
Yes, the important thing for me and for us at Aquiares is to really research because coffee genetic diversity is very small. If you look at the genetic diversity that we have in farms all around the world is tiny compared to other crops like potatoes or wheat or other crops. So we need to expand the genetic diversity in order to be able to mitigate all the effects of climate change. So in Aquiares, we started feeling a big pressure from the rust. So the rust, this fungus that affects coffee, that really started affecting us in 2013, was really damaging, especially because we relied almost 100%, but 90% on Caturra variety. So Caturra variety, which is a mutation of Bourbon, is excellent and it had been really good at Costa Rica in producing coffee, really high quality and everything. But with rust, it is very much affected. So we started a process in 2013 where we planted a varietal garden and we had 2,000 plants of different varieties. So Sarchimor, Obata, Marsellesa. We had hybrids, different hybrids like Centro, Americano, Esperanza. These are all different materials that all have one thing in common, is that they can resist the rust fungus. So this for us was really important as a process where we researched their production and how they performed in our area. And some of the more successful ones were Obata, which was developed in Brazil, and also Marsellesa, which was developed in Nicaragua. And both of them have the same parents, which is Villa Sarchi, which is original from Costa Rica, crossed with the hybrid of Timor. And with this, it's a Sarchimor, and it creates these two lines of Marsellesa and Obata. So they have become successful varieties that are very productive and also have a really nice taste.
Okay. By the way, we know, and probably you can confirm, that these strategies that do not start immediately. Okay, it takes time to be deployed, this kind of strategy. So probably you are thinking a very long term.
Always. It's really interesting because sometimes clients say like, "Oh, when is the geisha gonna be ready?" Or "How much do you have?" And I say, "I have total production was 20 kilos," and they're like, "What? Only 20?" And I'm like, "Yes, because we planted 500 plants. We need to test it to see if it's good, and then we'll plant a hectare, So it takes time.
By the way, it leads me another question. The coffee market is changing a lot. So then you arrive of the specialty coffee trend, the fashion, probably is moving very fast, and some varietals, I don't know, the famous geisha, for instance, some of these varietals became famous right now, and then probably they are less famous in a few years or so. So it probably is hard for you that you need to respect the time of the nature, the time of the agriculture, to follow instead the time of the fashion and the new trends.
Yes, you know, at the end of the day, I feel that each producer is going to grow whatever is important to them. And we understand our clients. We know that there are trends, that there are movements in the market, fashions, as you say, that can make our coffee more or less interesting. But at the end of the day, for me, and after learning through these last years, I also like to present new things that no one has, or new concepts, new varietals, and try to impress clients. So instead of waiting for them to tell me what to grow, I want to be there first and say, like, look at this, there's something new. This variety, for example, is very rare, and I made it in this specific fermentation or this specific drying, and try to be always innovating and always trying to establish a new trend ourselves.
In some way, you are reversing the approach. So you are not following the market, but you are trying to let the market follow you.
Yeah, for example, there's no everyone went to plant geisha. In Aquiares, we only have I think it's 3,000 plants only. And because when we tasted it, it was okay, but it was not great. So we didn't find it important, but there are other things. For example, as I was mentioning before, the hybrids, which are these varieties that are, each plant needs to be cloned. It's a very different process of reproducing the plants. We have been quite innovators in this segment, and really you could ask around, but for example, Centro Americano hybrid is something that Aquiares has really pushed forward and has somehow, taught a lot of buyers what it is and exposed to that hybrid for the first time. So we're trying to be innovative.
Which is the most complicated varietal for you to cultivate, or the last one?
Well, besides Caturra, which is really complex because of rust, actually the one I'm talking to you about, Centro Americano hybrid, this is very complex. To understand it, it's the first generation cross between Rume Sudan from Ethiopia and Sarchimor from Latin America. This gets crossed, and the first offspring is 50% gene of each one, right?
Okay.
And if you want to keep that plant consistent, you have to clone the plant. Okay. You cannot take the seed and plant it, because then you will get 75, 25, or...
It's not consistent.
It's not consistent. So we need to make an alliance with a lab that can reproduce the plants, right? And it's very complicated. Sometimes they don't reproduce well. And then when you plant it in the field, it has a lot of complications too. For example, we thought we were going to fertilize her like a caturra, like a normal plant. And then we found out that it needs, for example, a lot more potassium than it does nitrogen. And this, we took almost 4 years trying to learn this, because the plant leaves would go yellow and we didn't understand why. And after we did some research, we discovered that, it needs more potassium. So it's a matter of being always learning and trying to, if you're going to innovate, you're going to have to research and you're going to have to find a way. And I think Centro Americano has taught us a lot of things.
How much science and scientists in some way are taking part of your projects? There are some persons involved in that because of their scientific knowledge.
Yes, for sure. There's a group of advisors, we would say. We are in our team. We have an agronomist, and we work a lot with our internal knowledge and our just trying to learn ourselves. But we also have these advisors. Some people are maybe from the Costa Rican Coffee Institute or from international institutes like World Coffee Research, which we have a test plantation of World Coffee Research in Aquiares. Wow. We have worked with CIDAD, University of France, and
they support you. They support you in these projects. They support you in trying to make research.
Yes, for example, just trying to understand some of these materials. We can send samples of leaves, for example, to CIRAD, for them to validate the genetic material that we are growing, make sure that we're growing the right material. With World Coffee Research is really interesting. They made new hybrids, 44 new hybrids, and they planted it in Aquiares. So we have this plot where each plant is different, and we process the seeds separately. We have analyzed the cupping results now for 4 years. So we've done a lot of research and found hybrids that are really interesting, and we've contributed to the World Coffee Research, the other research they do around the world.
Since really you have a plantation probably in the middle of the mountain of Costa Rica, but you are speaking with the whole world of coffee.
Yeah, it's very connected, right, nowadays. And I think that there's a lot of awareness to some degree of the problems that farmers are facing. And, you know, Aquiares is a farm that is not small. So we have the capacity to do research. And we feel it's our responsibility to do research because smaller farmers maybe they cannot manage all the complexity. So if we can do it, we have to do it, and we have to share in order for others to also benefit.
Yeah, it's fantastic, because at the end, sometimes we have the image of the coffee of the farmer that is just living in the top of the mountain, forgetting everything is happening in the rest of the world. Instead, with you, seems completely different. You are in the center of the world of coffee.
At least we try.
I can just try to figure out that you have a large map of your plantation with different colors depending from the different varietals you are cultivating or experimenting here and there.
We have a map, but it has a lot of colors.
I just can't figure it out.
Yes.
Fantastic. By the way, we have spoken a lot about the different varietals or the cultivation in the field. Then probably you are putting the same degree of research, the same degree of experiments also in the process of coffee.
Yes.
Okay, so not just wash the natural, but much more probably.
Yes, this is I would say a personal passion. I love it. I love experimenting in the mill, and I feel that it has really opened up the kind of like the amount of offers or the amount of flavor profiles that can come out of a single farm. It really gets multiplied if you really use all the methods of processing that are now. So, for example, we started, I think it was in 2015 with our first micro lots. And we took these coffees that were, you know, Centro, Americano, Batat, these new varietals, and we exposed them to sun drying. We started with a honey and natural process. I still remember when I understood what a natural process was, and the first time I tasted it, and it was so different. You know, if your palate is not used to it, you might say like, oh, this coffee is bad, you know, but when you understand it more and the complexity of the flavors, it really opens up a new world for you, right? And since a couple of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, we started innovating a lot with fermentation. So we've developed different recipes, and every year we bring out a new recipe. But for example, we do an anaerobic process of the natural, so the cherry, and it gets fermented for 2 days. And it's a wild fermentation of all the yeast and bacteria, microorganisms that come from the field are doing the fermentation. And one thing that we discovered is really important is the liquid that comes out, which is called mosto. We call it mosto, like the wine mosto.
Yes. In Italian, mosto means something else, but anyway, it's understandable.
Okay.
It's what you get when you are processing the grapes in order to make the wine. So we are the same line.
Similar. It's a liquid, right, that comes out of the tank. After you take out the cherries, there's a liquid. This liquid is full of microorganisms, and it tastes amazing, smells amazing. And we are using that liquid to ferment the next batch. So the next batch of fruit, we put the mosto in. And this is like the initial it's gonna add all the microorganisms that are gonna do the fermentation.
Something that in Italian we call the lievito madre. You know,
Lievito madre.
The pizza or bread.
Yeah, masa madre, exactly, like making the bread.
Fantastic.
So it's the same idea with fermentation, and we've then experienced other things. Like, for example, we generated a mosto from coffee flowers. So we went to the field when the coffee was flowering. We took the white flowers of the coffee, we put it in water with a little bit of sugar, and it started to ferment and ferment and ferment. We let it for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, the liquid was already you could actually see the yeast, and it smelled amazing, very citric, floral, sweet. And we use this flower mosto, to ferment coffee. So we do this processing method, which is very different, this fermentation process, which includes the mosto from the flowers, and the taste is very nice floral coffee.
I cannot wait to taste it. I can.
Yeah,
have to.
Yeah, so processing is a passion, and it's also a great place to do experiments.
I can just. How big is the warehouse, the room where you do your experiments?
It's like it's not a big space. We have like 11 tanks, and these are 200-liter tanks. And the most important thing for me after the tanks, of course, is the drying. So the drying of the coffee is really critical, because you need to stop the fermentation.
You stay in an area where extremely rainy,
Extremely rainy.
Yeah,
so we have to build greenhouses with plastic roofs that let the light in, but not the water, of course. And after some years, we also developed a new system which incorporates a little bit of hot air when it's raining. So when it's raining, the temperature falls a lot and the humidity goes up. So we have a furnace that has the hot air for drying, let's say, the fully washed coffees, which are dried mechanically. Mm-hmm. So this same air is sometimes injected into the solar dryers. And this is done in an automatic way with a thermometer. And if we see the temperature drop below 30 degrees Celsius, the fan activates and it brings in hot air. Okay. So what we want to do is make sure that the drying curve is consistent. You know, it's as time progresses, humidity is always going down. If you have these peaks there that might happen if it's a rainy day or a cold night, then the quality might be compromised.
A lot of research on the varietals, a lot of research in the experiments in different processes, and so it seems you are also pushing a lot in terms of investment. So you are really pushing a lot in the matter of this. Is it? Is it common among the farmers in the area to invest, in terms of money, of course?
Yes. Look, that's a complicated question to answer, because coffee is like it's such a love-hate relationship, right? We love it so much. It's in our blood. Like in my example or my case, it's a family business. So I learned from my father everything of coffee, and I work with people that are a family between them, and in the Aquiares community, a lot of family members work there. So for us, we always say, like, we believe in coffee, we trust that this is what we are good to do, and we believe in the future of coffee. We feel that people are gonna be drinking coffee forever, and even if Costa Rica is a country where has a lot of limitations now for producing coffee, like the cost of production and other things, the way that coffee has been developed, where now we have this, right? More traceability, more transparency, higher value added, the specialty aspect of it, the aspect that empowers producers to be more important actors for in the coffee industry. These are all things that convince us that we need to stay in the business. And in a way of staying in the business is, of course, protecting the business. So we need to renovate the coffee fields, get rid of some of the varieties that are not resistant to plagues like rust. We need to invest in the mill to make sure that we can control things and be better at processing the coffees and improving the taste. We need to invest in human capital, making sure that we hire the right people and that the community around the farm is a stable community that is doing well. So at the end of the day, I feel that coffee will be more and more valuable over time, and our approach is very long term, very long term. So we want to make sure that the farm is stable and profitable for decades. So we always think like this, and we invest for decades.
Again, it seems to me that you are not just following the future, but you are creating it.
We're trying.
We are very successful. There are any, I don't know, special secrets in your job, in what you do? There is any little detail that you want to transmit? Something that it is part of the life in a plantation.
Well, there's so many things. I mean, there's really a lot that the consumers don't imagine. At the end of the day, we're also like a regular business. We need to comply with, government. We need to comply with certifications, all these different things that are also a lot of work.
Diego, I stop you just a second because I see that Lorenzo is entering in the conversation.
Okay.
So just meeting him. By the way, no problem, Lorenzo. We are just finishing the very, very interesting, super interesting call with Diego. By the way, I can just present you to the people that will watch this video. Lorenzo is the green coffee importer that is allowed us to meet Diego. So we thank, of course, Lorenzo for this opportunity. It has been very, very interesting. By the way, Lorenzo, you are a green coffee importer for Mercanta, yes? Yeah. Very well, very well. You met Diego probably some years ago.
Well, actually, Diego and I never really met, but my colleagues know Diego since quite a lot of years. And
okay.
Yeah, I was very lucky to try some of his coffees as well. Of course, I tried all of the coffees that we import here in Italy, and I was very impressed by how Aquiares Estate is able to really not only produce an exceptional quality coffee, but also at the same time be very environmental oriented. And that's, I think, one of the most important added value for Aquiares Estate and for this coffee. So like that's, I think, one of the main point that I wanted to make during this call. Nowadays with global warming and climate change, it's really important to focus on those aspects, and I think they're doing a very great job.
From what we learned from Diego, I think, as we said, Diego is not part of the future, but he's really creating the future of coffee in some way. He's very, very advanced in terms of experiments on varietals, on processes. So when Lorenzo, you think to go in Costa Rica to meet Lorenzo, to meet Diego, let me know.
You're both invited. It would be a pleasure to have you, and it's very nice to meet you, Lorenzo, and thank you for the kind words.
Thank you very much.
Luckily, with this COVID situation right now, it's difficult to organize any trips. Otherwise, I would have already come. But yeah, let's hope for the future as well.
Yes.
Sooner or later it will finish and we move again.
Sure. Hopefully.
Right now, by the way, I stopped a bit, Diego, but I just asked him if there are some secrets of the life in the plantation that you would like to tell to our watchers, to the people that is following this channel and these videos.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this. It's such a peculiar lifestyle, working in the farm. First of all, Aquiares is a large farm, but has a community inside. So almost 2,000 people live within the farm. And this is a town that developed because of the farm. And it transitioned, or it evolved to becoming an independent community. But it has a church, it has a school, it has a pharmacy, a supermarket. So there's a whole community inside. And what's really interesting is that most of the workers that work in the farm live in the town. And I'm talking about all sorts of jobs, from tractor drivers, farm hands, the agronomist, the accounting, the mill manager, the roaster. All of these people are from the community. So I think that it's really peculiar how in Aquiares, when someone has an issue or someone has a problem, or let's say a family is suffering, we all know about it. Everyone tells each other, everyone helps each other. As I said before, it's also a family business, so a lot of people are connected in that way. And you can imagine Aquiares as a small community with a really strong bonds of friendship and family.
Fantastic, fantastic. And it seems all this effort to maintain also very strong this community is also giving a lot of fantastic results. Right now we are selling, we have not spoken yet, but the coffee we are selling right now, we know this coffee is going to change now with the harvest and so on. But anyway, the coffee we are selling right now, the Entre Rios, probably is the name of the area of the microlot, it gets 87.75 SCA points in cupping. So a great result.
Nice.
And maybe this is not the highest that you got.
This is a great score, and I feel that you should try the Entre Rios natural. It's the same process, but in a natural process. The same variety, but in a natural process. We also have Entre Rios red honey and also an anaerobic version. So what we try to do is we produce these fully washed coffees, which are, I feel, the true representation of terroir. Right, the Entre Rios washed or any washed coffee will taste like the terroir, like the what the soil gave to the plant, the local or all the conditions, and this is like the pure representation of terroir. And then once we get into the processing methods, of course, in the mill we are doing something to change the profile, and terroir then it's a little bit lost there with what we add in the process. But at the end of the day, it's interesting to have one same variety with different facets or different profiles.
By the way, a question that is not really related with coffee. Anyway, usually coffee plantations are made in the middle of the jungle, okay, in Costa Rica, an area that is, from the biological point of view, one of the richest on the planet.
Yes.
Probably you can meet a lot of animals, okay?
Yes.
So we can just suppose that in some parts of your coffee area are good for some Indiana Jones.
Well, it's a farm that has developed in a way where it is a agroforestry system. So it's not only coffee as a monocrop. Coffee lives in an environment where there's a diversity of species, mostly tree species that are all native or mostly all native, that give shade to the coffee. We must remember that coffee originated in East Africa in the forest of Ethiopia.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why not to grow coffee with shade, and we believe in that. So the fact of having shade, having a lot of water in different rivers and streams, and all the rivers and all the streams have buffer zones, which is an area of a forest. On each side of the river, there's a forest. And so it creates these natural corridors for nature, for animals to move freely. And it also connects the different protected areas, because we also have about 100 hectares of protected forest within the farm. So at the end of the day, the farm really hosts a lot of diversity, and we can count that with bird species that are increasing year on year. Also mammals, some, for example, sloths, some smaller mammals like the small jaguar called ocelote has been seen in the farm. And yeah, actually right now, I will get you some material in a couple months, because Saturday, we installed 10 cameras in different parts of the farm, and they have a motion detection system to film videos of animals. So hopefully we will have more evidence about animals in the farm in a couple months.
Just fantastic. So you are researching not just in coffee, but in the whole environment that is surrounding you. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to go very quickly back on the point that Diego made before about how they're able to showcase the terroir, but also the difference that each processing method makes. I think it would be very interesting to show the people maybe the same coffee, so the same variety processed in a different way, how that affects the cup, and also the other way around, try the same processing method but with a different variety. I think that would be an interesting next step maybe to do, just to showcase how important it is to choose the right variety and the right processing method.
Yeah, we have had actually some clients that buy a little bit of each processing method, and there's several examples of this. But it's exactly to do what you're saying. Sometimes maybe a person doesn't know what a natural process is or tastes like, and maybe they have a version of maybe an Ethiopian natural versus a Colombian natural, and you don't know exactly what to compare. But what we've tried to do is to keep some of the variables the same, stable, so you can actually taste the difference and learn more about the processing or the variety. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Well, I don't know if Lorenzo needs to add something else. I honestly have already still a lot of time to Diego, so I don't want to insist because I know right now it's almost lunchtime for him.
No problem. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I think, that would be a point that we could work on for the future, which I think is of a very high value.
From our side, we learned that much from Diego, so that we cannot wait to taste more coffees from him.
It would be a pleasure.
In the very future, with Lorenzo, we will be in contact in order to get some of the fantastic coffees he described us.
Thank you.
Very well. So, Lorenzo and Diego, I just want to thank you for your time. And of course, in the video and in the description of the video, the link of your websites are going to be displayed. I just hope that Diego is able to send us some videos or photos about what he said to us about the plantations, about the environment, about the whole society that is living within the plantation itself. So thank you very much again, and see you very soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gabriele, Lorenzo. Nice to meet you.
It was very nice to meet you too. And sorry, guys, again, if I joined so late.